Hello and good evening. My name's Adam Lara, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my final project for contemporary data analytics. Now, one of my questions for this presentation was to find out about COVID-19 statistics between population density and death toll. Um, COVID-19 has been rapidly spreading throughout the United States and the world at large for the last 2 years plus now. And with the rapid increase of not just the original COVID-19 virus, but the Omicron as well, there needs to be some sort of research done in order for us to discover whether or not it's safe to live in densely populated zones, like say California or Texas or New York, or to live in some place smaller, more quiet, backwoods kind of area, like Wyoming, for example. So, on that note, my two different states that I'm going to be looking at for my data are going to be Texas and Wyoming. And between those two, I'm going to show the differences between population, the different data, the death totals, and we'll go through some of that coming up right now. So for starters, as we can see here, in Texas, Texas is one of the largest states in the country, top five, and it's my home state, so that's why I happen to choose that one. With COVID rapidly ravaging the state over the last 2 years, I thought it'd be most interesting to see about finding, what data would be on my home state. So for starters, I decided I'm going to compile the deaths for between 2020 and 2021, and then looking at this death total up in the millions. As you can see, that's extreme. It's very extreme, especially for our extremely dense population in my home state. You can see that the numbers don't lie, that it's definitely far higher than anyone would be comfortable with. And then looking in on the brighter side of things, I guess, you can see on the recovered side, right here, we can look from, again, 2020 to 2021, how we've had, a few hundred million, or 131 million recovered, in just 2021 alone, so that is a positive. While the death increase has actually gone down, as you can see from the data here, pictured below, down in it's gone down pretty drastically by about 10,000. And moving on over, we're going to look at, so Wyoming is, a much smaller state in general. And again, we'll get to the population comparison here in just a moment, but we're going to take a look at how the difference between Texas and Wyoming. Texas is in the multi hundreds of thousands and the millions for the deaths, but Wyoming, as you could see, even though yes, they have gone up from 20,000 to almost 40,000, about double, in the last year, which may be seemingly extreme, but keep in mind that Wyoming is a decent sized state, while maybe this number has doubled. You got to keep in mind that it doesn't have as many dense population zones as Texas would, like Houston or Dallas. So like just looking at the recovered patients totals, I mean, that's gone up drastically too. Gone up about a third. Now that isn't like double like what the unfortunate death ratio is, but as you can see, the death toll is definitely falling down over time. Now, looking at this, this is kind of the sad truth of the difference between Wyoming and Texas. Now, Texas being up at about 29 million right now, you can see that it's so far up there that there's so many people that even though the state is massive, with you know miles, millions of miles worth of square feet for all these people to spread out on, there's still so many densely populated zones in Texas, and with that, it increases your chances of catching COVID-19. Um, Unlike, as you can see, the very small line at the bottom, which represents Wyoming, for the population. Now, Texas has also been having a lot of people move in from different states like California, um, Colorado, Minnesota. I know that Minnesota's had a lot of people come in recently. And because of that, they bring also, the different kinds of COVID, the Delta variant and all that other stuff that have been coming in. While Wyoming is seemingly going under the radar because it's not as much of a population hub as Texas is. Now, that's great because if you live in Wyoming, now you're not going to be seeing as many people. You're not going to be as exposed to COVID as you would like living in Texas. Um, and I mean, the numbers don't lie. With there not even being, it's under 2 million people living in the whole state versus Texas with about 29 million. Now, moving on, as you can see, the striking spike in data over the last 2 years or so. I'm just getting into 2022 now. This is the CDC statistics. Now, hovering over this, we can see that in 2022 there hasn't been a huge number of people that have died so far, but keep in mind that, I mean, it's, as of this recording, it's only January 15th. So we still have almost an entire calendar year in order to really get that data to keep spiking and climbing, like we're probably going to keep seeing coming up in the future. Now you'll also notice that this metric goes by year and up in the millions, which is number of patients deceased. Now climbing up all the way up here, we're up over 20 million from what my CDC data says about all the different deaths all over the place. And in Wyoming, on the other hand, even though, yes, you can see the spike from 2020 all the way to 2022, is definitely rather drastic. Again, you got to keep in mind that this is in the 320s, which their population isn't even a million, or it isn't even 2 million, I don't think. So this, oh no, I'm sorry. This is the yeah, that is correct. So judging from these two sets of data, I would definitely recommend living in Wyoming over Texas or any other state that's significantly smaller, just because of the fact that at the end of the day, any like small town is going to be safer, for avoiding COVID-19 over, a big city where millions of people touch a single door handle every day, where you only go just down the street to the corner store where 5 people touch the door handle throughout the day. Um, Being able to live in some place that's smaller, that really gives you a better peace of mind for how all of this has worked over so much time, I think is very valuable to be able to dissect this and understand that there is a correlation between population density and the lack thereof, essentially. And lastly, this is my works cited, is the CDC. I pulled my data from the CDC, datacommons.org, and of course Tableau. And yeah, I just used as much data as I could find there, put them in my charts, and thank you very much for this presentation. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for stopping by. Have a good night.